hope you're all doing really, really well. I want to talk to you today about a topic that I'm very passionate about, and that's traveling. So, I've traveled around a lot. I've been to Africa, I've traveled to Latin America, to Europe. I haven't quite gotten to Asia yet. But many times people ask me, like, how do you do it? Because I've ended up living in some of these places or spending long periods of time, like months and years at a time. But that's for another story. But today I wanted to talk about traveling by yourself. So even though I've traveled quite a bit, I've never actually traveled by myself. I mean, I've gone on a plane by myself, but it was always to go meet up with friends on the other side, or to join a program related to school, or start working somewhere where eventually I would meet people. But recently I traveled to the Dominican Republic, and I traveled completely by myself. I spent about 3 weeks there, and the reason I went to the Dominican Republic by myself was, well, one, no one wanted to join me, or no one could join me at the time that I went, which was just last month in April. And also, my family is originally from the Dominican Republic, but I hadn't been to the Dominican Republic since I was 1. So I really wanted to go there and experience the culture, not just as a tourist staying at a resort, but really to kind of embrace it and discover my roots, so to speak. So I wanted to spend a good chunk of time there, about 3 weeks, and just kind of see what the Dominican Republic was really about, off the beaten path. So I went and bought a one-way ticket to Punta Cana, which is on the eastern side of the Dominican Republic, and then I spent a few days there, like about 5 to 7 days, and then I moved north to Samana, and also Santo Domingo, the capital. And along the way, I did meet a lot of people, and I did stay at a distant relative's home. So I actually have an uncle who lives there, and my grandmother on my dad's side lives there, but she actually was out of town, so I ended up staying in her place with no one there. But essentially I did go by myself, and what I learned, I kind of took this as a challenge, because I wanted to see if I was capable of traveling by myself. I wanted to see if I would have fun, and so I kind of took this as a challenge, because as much as I had traveled, I had never done that before. And what I learned was that not only did I love it, and had an amazing, amazing time, but I also learned that you're never really alone. And in fact, when you travel alone, you're probably even less alone than when you travel with other people. Because when you travel with other people, you're much more focused on the group, and you spend little time on getting to know other people. You have less opportunities. But when you travel by yourself, you're more vulnerable, and I think people kind of embrace that, and you'll be surprised how people are willing to help you more, and how more open you are to new experiences and meeting new people. So one cool thing that I learned is that you're never really alone, and that's very refreshing in a world where sometimes we can feel very alienated and isolated, even living in a big city, or among our friends and family members. But it's really nice that when you travel by yourself, you kind of see like the human kindness. You get to see the beauty in people, basically the kindness of strangers. So I definitely recommend traveling by yourself. Another really cool thing that I realized about traveling by myself was that I just loved my own company. And I think that when you're so busy and occupied by your day-to-day routine, or when you're traveling with others, like, you rarely get to kind of always do everything that you want to do on your own terms, or at least without like feeling guilty about it or having to compromise in some way. And when you're traveling by yourself, you can do whatever the heck you want. And you also don't even have to think about what you want to do and plan it out. You can just decide the day of and say, okay, I want to go for a walk. Okay, 20 minutes later, I'm done with that walk. I don't want to do this anymore. I can do whatever I want. There's no negotiating, no planning ahead of time, no any of that. It's just you enjoying your time. So along the way, I did get a chance to meet other people, but I found myself almost wanting to spend time by myself, because I just wanted to do whatever I wanted to do. And how often do you have that luxury to just be able to say that? I mean, one, how often are you on vacation? And then two, how often are you on vacation by yourself where you can really dictate anything that you want to do? So I definitely think that was a really good highlight. I felt after my trip that not only was I discovering things that I was interested in learning about in the DR, but also I was just kind of spending time with myself and kind of nurturing myself and doing things that I felt like doing, and taking naps whenever I wanted to, and I was on no one's schedule but my own. And I must say that after this trip, it really left me feeling like I almost never I almost now always want to travel by myself. I think it's going to be kind of hard to want to travel with other people now that I had so much fun traveling by myself. So I highly recommend it. I think it's a beautiful experience to get to know yourself, and also to be open to the human experience. And also I think you really get to experience other cultures more, because I think people welcome you more because they see that you are by yourself. Now, how to do it? And I apologize in advance, I'm a little sick, so I might sound a little nasally. But how to do it? Well, now with the beauty of social media, it's very easy to travel by yourself and get around very easily. I used Airbnb a couple of times. So the first time I stayed at someone's home, so it was a shared home, so the person who was doing the Airbnb was there and I was renting their room, and that was a nice experience. I stayed for about a week with them, and this was in Punta Cana. And then when I went to Samana, I stayed on a sailboat, and that was a really, really cool experience. Like, when else would you have the opportunity to just stay on someone's sailboat? So I definitely encourage to do Airbnb, because not only do you get to experience a bit of someone's life in that culture, but also you just are open to different experiences. Like, I never would have thought of me, someone from New York City who doesn't know how to swim, has a horrible sense of direction. Like, not only did I stay on a boat for a few days, but I also learned to navigate a bit and participated in a regatta. So definitely encourage Airbnb. Another thing, even though you're traveling by yourself, the world is so small. So even if you don't have friends in that city or place that you're going to, maybe some of your friends may have friends over there or know someone. No matter how finely connected or how thin the connection may be, it never hurts to reach out to folks and say, hey, do you know anyone in the city or in this place that I'm traveling to? And you'd be surprised. That way I was able to meet up with a friend of a friend who was also in Santo Domingo, in the capital, and we had a really nice afternoon. We did some sightseeing together, and I got to meet a really cool friend. And also through Airbnb, some of the folks I stayed with, I'm now friends with. So you never know, if you leave yourself open, friends of friends, Airbnb, and just be open. Like, at one point I did stay in a hotel, because I think that as much as I like to be rugged and do things on the cheap side, or just experience new experiences, even if it's a little rough, I also think you should treat yourself when you're on vacation. So I did stay at a nice hotel, nothing too crazy lavish, but something that was quaint and but very comfortable. And just by chatting with the hotel workers and kind of getting to know them and also sharing with them my interests, I was able to meet one of the hotel workers who was a university student at a university that I wanted to go visit. It's like the oldest university in the New World, the first university in the New World. So I he told me he was going to school the next day, and I told him I had wanted to go to that school, so he invited me to join him. So I got a a tour of the campus from the perspective of a student, and his mom even made me a homemade dessert also. So he brought in the next day some homemade treats that his mom had made. So you just never know. I mean, I also had other instances like that where people in the streets were just very sweet. I remember buying fruit from one vendor who was so sweet. I chatted with him a bit after buying a mango and telling him about my life story, hearing about his, and I gave him like a little tip. It was like 10 pesos, which is probably like 25 cents. And on my way back from my trip, I had to cross his path again, and he called me over, and I'm like, uh-oh, what is he calling me over for? Because as a woman traveling by yourself and I'm from New York City, you're always on guard. And he was like, here, and he gave me a free banana. So you just never know. People are very kind, much kinder than you may think. With that said, you should still use precaution. I tend to like to be very kind to people and always see the beauty in people and give people the benefit of the doubt. But I was advised, by Dominicans who live there and also from Dominicans that do not live there, that, to be very careful because things have gotten a little dangerous. So they told me not to really stop for anyone if they ask you for directions because crime has gone up. So I was very cautious, and even though I like to be kind, there were times where I was like a little short and I felt bad. I felt like I was being mean. But when you're traveling by yourself, especially if you're a woman, it's totally doable, but you should exercise precaution. Until you feel comfortable and you know your surroundings, always have a little bit of a guard up, and then you can let that guard down a little slowly as you feel comfortable. Also, forget what the guidebooks say. Even sometimes forget what advice people give you. I'm giving you advice now, but trust your intuition. Look at people and, read the body language. You will know what people's intentions are just by their body language. And at the end of the day, I do believe that even if someone has some slight ulterior motives, you can still kind of kill them with kindness. And there were times where I was just walking down the street and people that you may think, oh, I don't know, like, are they nice or not? Like, are they sketchy? I would just smile at them and say good morning, and then this beautiful smile would just spread across their face, and you realize like they're just like you, trying to live, and they're just everyday people like all of us. So definitely don't be afraid to kind of chat with someone. That doesn't mean you have to give them your number. So that is pretty much my list of suggestions and reasons why I think you should go. Also, because you are traveling by yourself, I just want to add this last point. Don't be afraid to ask questions. Like, a lot of the ways that I got around and figured things out was not necessarily by using the internet, because the internet didn't even work many times when I was in DR. So all I did was just ask people, whether it was shopkeepers, whether it was like taxis, whether it was security guards at hotels that I didn't even belong to. I would just ask them, where do I take the bus to get to the capital, or how do I get to this place? And everyone was really friendly. Like, people will help you out. So don't be afraid to talk to people, ask them questions, because they know more than you and they are likely to help you. So on that note, I'm sorry if this has been a little bit all over the place, but I hope it really inspires you to step outside of your comfort zone and travel. I mean, nowadays traveling is so easy, and there's no reason why you should be held back from traveling just because someone won't join you on your adventure, or yeah, or you've never been to the place. Like, that's even all the more reason to do it, because I think at least once in your lifetime you should experience what it's like traveling by yourself. And who knows, you might even enjoy it so much that you want to do it again. All right, take care and have a great day. Bye.